Well, good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Hager-Hershey-Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly show hosted by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. Once again, it's Sunday night. Rex Brewer along with Dane Fuelling. And Dane, tomorrow starts boys wrestling season. Just 2 weeks ago, we were here talked about girls wrestling season underway, and we got some coaches here filing in. And I guess tonight is just going to sit around and talk with coaches about wrestling all night long, right?
Yeah, I want to hear coaches talk about their schedules, what they've made as far as changes. We're going to have a lot of discussion, although we are labeling it as the boys kickoff show. As we've talked to a couple of the coaches that are here, you can't really separate the girls teams from the boys teams right now because a lot of programs are looking at the same coaching staffs. And I know Sam and Harley were talking earlier about how they've got a week where they have weigh-ins or matches to coach Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Kind of sounds like our broadcast schedule.
Just about
in December, but I know for everybody they're excited to get the season started and excited to go tomorrow.
First off, I'd like to thank Steve Rouse for running board for us on Sunday nights. We're on a little bit early because the Indianapolis Colts play tonight. That game starts 7:30, I think, on WZBD, so we're on a little bit early. I'd like to thank Steve for running board for us. I'd like to thank the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill for hosting our show as they always do. And Dane, I'm trying to think, the one wood plaque that I have that you don't have yours back, I think we should hang those up in here because my wife got tired of it looking on a counter, just kind of threw it. I don't know where it's at, but I'll find out. I think we might as well just hang them up here.
It works for me. I know tonight, later, we're going to go through our broadcast schedule for everybody who's interested as far as what WZBD will be broadcasting. We start our broadcast schedule this week, it sounds like. Apparently, we added a match.
I got that text from you on Friday night telling me that I was working Wednesday.
We're excited about it, of course. Big storylines for this year. The integration of girls wrestling as an official IHSAA sport. I know that really hasn't changed our schedule a ton, but it does change the schedule for the venue, and certainly just from reading the comments on Indiana Matt over the last couple of weeks, you realize how big of an impact it's had on numbers at select programs around the state, and it certainly has everybody really excited. And there's going to be some changes and some growing pains, but I think this state tournament is going to be sort of just explosive when it comes to what we're looking at.
I talked to the Bulldog coaches when they came in, and I was watching some Facebook posts this summer or this earlier this month that when they came out and started talking about first practices. And some of these teams that I've never heard of, girls programs, 18, 19, 25 girls on the team. I mean, I think it's going to explode this year, and I think just being classified as a IHSAA sanctioned sport is going to make it grow that much more. We can talk to the Bulldogs, since they were the team state champions last year, what it means, whether it's sanctioned or not sanctioned, see if there is a difference or whether or not it's increased or not.
Well, and, we've seen some teams 2 weeks ago, we talked to the Northside coaches who were boasting 15, 16, 18 girls out for the team. And we talked about this the last couple of years during our girls broadcast, just how cool it is. I mean, we brag. You got your top boys programs throughout the state, and it just makes sense that they can parlay that into girls' participation, girls' success. But when you start seeing some programs who you don't hear anything from on the boys' side of things, to all of a sudden have 12 girls, 15 girls out, that just has me so excited as somebody who loves the sport. And, the future is so wide open as to what this can become.
It's interesting how those two don't always correlate between the boys' teams and girls' team. And we can talk to some of these coaches. We're going to have plenty of time to talk tonight about how they manage their girls' team versus the boys' team. Blane Culp's here, and he's predominantly has quite a few girls in his team. And it's like, how do you one, promote to more girls get out there? Number two, how do you manage when you have that many more girls that in the past you haven't had? And it's like, oh, what do I do with 25 girls now?
And, of course, this year we also have some major rule changes when it comes to out of bounds and the three-point takedown and near fall and all of those types of things. So, just watching Purdue on Friday, watching Ike get his win at Gardner-Webb, it reminded me we're really going to have to train ourselves from scorekeeping to announcing to just, it's been 2 points for 100 years, and now all of a sudden we got to change it.
I always keep the score sheet running, just because as you go back, it helps to do stats. You look down through and it's like, so-and-so won with 7 takedowns or something like that. But 7 takedowns, your match will be over this year.
And I think there are going to be some really quick technical falls. And I don't know if this is the right lens to view it through. We've seen a lot of running clocks in football since they implemented it. Was it been 3 years? I think that rule change has been positive. I think there's not much to be gained after that point. And, of course, everybody loves the comeback stories. And we saw a comeback game on
South Adams was
on
almost
Friday
35 points.
Wasn't quite 35 points, but, I think a lot of those tech falls, the boys take care of business, get through the match, get their win, and move on. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be detrimental to the season overall. I do think it's probably going to mess with some statistical type things. Blane and I are from the era of the 57-0 state champ, 59-0 state champ. But now you're talking about kids who, what is the maximum you can wrestle? 40? Can you get to 50 wins now?
Yeah, I feel like there's still
There's a handful of guys who get into the 50s, I think, but now, like your program takedown records and those types of things, some of these guys are going to be getting tech falls in the first period with this 3-point takedown, and with the near fall rules, with the out of bounds rules, that might change things significantly for the programs that do keep those types of statistics.
With the increased technical skill of the girls that we've seen, I think the 3-point takedown is going to make a difference. And, we don't usually see a lot of tech falls in girls' matches, but I think that 3-point takedown may make a difference there.
Well, from everything that I've seen, from the off-season stuff to the college stuff, I think it's going to be a great change. I don't know how every coach feels about it. There's nothing really to feel. It's reality, and you got to go with it. But certainly, offense and wrestling on your feet is something that we all enjoy, and it's something that's going to be rewarded.
Well, I know that they're going to stress, hey, don't get taken down 5 times because you won't be there much longer. So
exactly. Hey, before we get a chance to go to our break, I guess this is our time to talk about the loss of Belmont assistant coach Paul Rubel this weekend. It's been a big hit for our community. Rex, I was over there yesterday with the family, and you want to talk about Paul in WZBD, and maybe he's not the only one. Maybe there's a lot of guys like this, but it really struck me. He's got his chair in the living room. It's across from the TV, and next to the remote controls is a radio.
Old school radio.
And I don't, you don't have to guess what channel that radio was tuned into. It was 92.7. And he was a big supporter of what we did with soccer this fall. He paid money out of his own pocket to make sure that we got those broadcasts going, with his daughter being a senior. And he was incredibly excited to be a part of the high school coaching staff this year. And somebody who just really, really loved the sport and not just Belmont wrestling, but was just so encouraging to everyone, not just his own kids, not just Ike, not just John, but he was so active in the middle school with some of these guys that are currently on this Belmont team, and I'm gonna miss his personality, his comments, and it's a big loss for the wrestling community here in Decatur.
And I'm certain we'll talk much more about that throughout the season, but with that, let's send it back to studio. Steve Rouse from the board for us, back with one of our first coaches and interviews here on WZBD High School Wrestling Weekly.
When faced with the difficult task of making arrangements for your loved one, many emotions and questions arise.
What would they want me to do if they were here? Where is the money coming from? How much should I spend? Do they want burial or cremation? The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home can help you navigate these tough questions. Make your wishes known and allow us to make sure that your wishes are carried out. Call Ryan Hershey or Eric Zelt at 260-724-7167 to schedule an appointment today.
Shop local. It's a phrase we hear all the time, but for the staff and family at Package Liquors, it means something extra. Package, with locations in Decatur, Monroe, Berne, and Markle, is a local family-owned business that has been serving local communities for decades. We take your support and patronage and return it by supporting local athletes on WZBD and donating to different organizations across Adams County. The next time you're deciding where to shop, shop local. Shop at Package. It's where your friends shop.
Hosted by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill, Rex Brewer along with Dane Fuelling, as another coach makes his way into the building. As our first segment here, as we went through the weigh-ins, and we're now into the first period. Once again, you got a Cross Creek read there, do you, Dane?
I ordered the turkey melt tonight. That's my second time in two shows with the turkey melt. You know, I used to be a pulled pork taco type of guy. Jimmy, did you order any food? You're just here for the libations.
I'm mad because they don't have gizzards anymore.
Well, maybe we have to petition them to get it back on.
I'm joking. That's
at
fine.
least on Sundays.
Well, Sunday nights is wing special, so I had the wings, 10 wings and tots, went right down. And into the building is one of the host sponsors, the Haggard Hershey Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly. Mr. Hershey comes walking in. But first segment here, we've got Coach Linn of the defending girls state champion team that called in a couple weeks ago. And Jimmy, we're going to talk about girls season. You know, it's been in motion for like 2 weeks now, and now you got boys coming in. How do you separate that? How do you manage it? Is it a big transition for you?
For us, it's really not a big transition. I mean, we're going to continue doing the same thing we've done in the past. So I've spent the last 2 weeks with the girls trying to get them kind of up to speed to where now our boys are going to come in and they're going to be involved in the entire process. Our entire coaching staff does both boys and girls, so we'll have enough to kind of spread out and help the younger ones. There's a lot of young boys coming in this year too, so we're going to go in two segments with more experienced and then less experienced. So we got enough coaches we can do that. Some of our girls will be with those experienced wrestlers, and some of them will be with the less experienced ones. So that's just how we've done things in the past, and by the time we get towards the end of the year, everybody's kind of in one group. So that's our goal.
Now, last week we heard Commissioner Falcons talk about the fact that, of course, the IHSAA is going to hand out a state championship for a team at the individual state finals in Indianapolis in January. But he also mentioned the fact that it sounds like he had a few details to iron out, and I know Pat Culp talked about it also, but there's also going to be a dual team state championship. So the dual thing is something that we've only seen in the last year or two, and I know there were a couple of duels maybe 3 years ago. But from a coaching perspective, do you feel like you're going to have to coach your girls a little bit more? Are you concerned about the dual side of things at all? Like there's a different element there in wrestling duels, considering that the girls have never really wrestled in a duel before. I know you were talking about your girls didn't have much success duel-wise because you couldn't really fill out the weight classes. But I think there's some coaches out there who are girl-specific who have been coaching individual tournament. Now all of a sudden it's like, hey, this isn't just about you winning or losing. This is about you making it 6 minutes so that you can help the team. We talk about it with the boys all the time, but I don't know if the girls really understand that.
Right. We have some girls that have been wrestling for a while now, and we've been fortunate enough to have they've had some dual experience. Last year we didn't have as many because we really only had 5 girls wrestling for our dual season. This year we have a little bit more. Still not a lot. We'll fill probably 9 or 10 weight classes at the most. So we've had a discussion about, we may bump weight classes. I may need a girl to cut some weight in order for us to, because right now we can fill 9 weight classes if we get the girls where they need to be. If not, then we're going to have multiple ones in different weight classes, or in the same weight class. So it's not really good for a dual team. So you have to fill as many weight classes as possible, obviously.
And I think that's going to be the crazy thing about this very first year of this dual meet state championship. I was telling Jimmy, I was trying to work on the state rankings, the top 10 for Indiana Matt's preseason mag, which should come out this week, by the way. If you're interested in that, you can order a copy through the mail or you can order a copy online. It should be a really good publication with lots of boys' stuff and girls' stuff. Joe's done a nice job with that in the last couple of years. But, there's going to be some teams with 9 girls with 6 absolute world beaters who are going to get beat by some teams who can fill 13 out of 14 weight classes. Or maybe it's not even about filling 13 weight classes. Maybe it's about winning the toss and knowing how to win a duel and getting a couple of state placers to have their hands raised on forfeits and then to slide into those other matches. That's an intricate thing that hasn't been a part of the girls' season so far.
Right, and it's not all about numbers. It's just about winning weight classes. You got to at least win a set amount of matches in order to even be eligible to win. So it's just obviously the teams who have and fill more weight classes have the upper advantage. But it's still exciting for those girls. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure how our dual team is going to look. We've been pretty successful in the tournament series, but like I said, last year we wouldn't have won any duels. Head-to-head duels because we had seven girls and only 5 of them wrestling at one time. So it's just how it's going to be for us anyway.
So let's talk about your boys' season for a little bit. Obviously, first practice tomorrow. That's why we're here. When do you guys kick off the season?
Yeah, so we're starting just right after school, 3:20. I think we're going to have a solid group this year. We have anywhere from 40 to 50 kids. We'll see how many we finish with, but I'm anticipating that's what we're going to start with. That's including our girls. So we'll have a solid group up there to start with. So,
in your first match,
we have a Super 6 on the 23rd for our varsity. It's kind of I wouldn't say it's not the toughest, but we got a lot of our sectional opponents in there, and I like to get those just so we can get some head-to-heads.
And that's the Saturday before Thanksgiving, then.
Correct. Yeah. So I've been in our sectional seeding meetings. Sometimes it's hard to get some head-to-head matches against some of the teams that we don't face. So I like to get as many head-to-heads as possible, just so we have that. So if a certain team comes in with a great record, but one of our kids doesn't have such a great record, we have that head-to-head, so we can possibly use that to get a better seed.
Now, last year down at Evansville, Rex and I have become so close with your program in the last couple of years. We were nearly in tears when Easton won. You got a returning state champ on the roster. What's the limit for Easton this year?
There is no limit. I mean, he's gonna compete. He wants another state title, and I see no reason why he can't compete for that. What he does great for our program is just he brings those other kids along. Last year, we had those kids that followed him, and he's doing the same thing with the younger kids this year. You get a state champ in your lineup, they watch him, they see the type of effort and the type of work that he puts in, and they just want to follow him. And he's been a great leader. We've had great wrestlers in the past, not so much great leaders, but he does a great job just getting kids to buy into what we're doing, and he sells that as well.
Talking on your girls' side, you have a 3-time girls state champion, and talking to our dad here before the program, and they've decided, she's going boys.
Yep.
All out. And so it's like a 4-time girls state champion is a lesser want for her than placing higher than she did in the boys tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. You can hopefully Sam will get on here and you can talk to him about that. But she has goals, she has aspirations for her future, and she thinks that wrestling the boys is going to be more beneficial for her to get to where she wants to be. She's looking at colleges right now, and she's working hard, and I don't see any reason why she can't be on the podium for a second straight year.
My wife is an avid Facebook follower, and she said something about King. What's King? I was like, King is that is it. And I'd never heard of it. I said, well, then you need to pay a little bit more attention to our program.
Yeah, girls
on Sunday
nights. A little bit different. Who's at the top? It's not the same. Iowa, obviously, but then you've got the D3 and all those. They all wrestle together. North Central's a Division III program, and they're just as tough. I mean, they're going to be competing for for a national title year in, year out now.
No, when we had the commissioner on last week, he said that Kayla Miracle called in and talked to their referees association and the coaches association, and she basically told him that she is where she is today because she wrestled against boys, because there was not the girls wrestling at the time, and she said she stressed to him, coach wrestlers, don't coach girls and boys, just coach wrestlers.
You're absolutely right. That's I think one thing our coaches do pretty well is they don't treat the girls any different, and I think it helps too that they're in the same room, and the girls that have had success have been brought through our process, and our coaches will coach them, have coached them. Coach Harley has been our middle school coach for a while now, and he's coached Olivia Bodie since she was 10 years old, and so they know what's expected of them, and that helps when you get that kind of experience coming up.
Now, looking at our broadcast schedule, man, we see you a lot. We're gonna pick up your match against Columbia City on Wednesday. We see you again for a girls' duel in December when you take on Jay County. Then we'll have you for the conference duels. We've got a head-to-head between you guys and Adams Central, and then we'll probably see you again that next weekend. When is that at Yorktown this year?
It is at Yorktown.
The
yes.
Super 10, and then of course at the conference meet and at semi-state and state. So we're certainly excited about what you guys have in store for this year.
Yeah, I think it'll be an exciting year. The good thing about like wrestling in our area is everybody's getting better. It's not your just traditional teams anymore. You really got to be on your A game every week in every duel. We've added some things to our schedule I'm really excited about. We got Homesteads on our schedule this year. We're really excited about that.
They're not that good.
We got the Fort guy here.
I know, and hats off to Coach Oberlin and what he's doing for our area wrestling, and he's part of that reason why everybody's getting better. Garrett's on our schedule; they're the same way, and there's not an easy out in our conference anymore. It's really just you got to be ready to go. Those conference duels are. If you're not healthy, you don't have a plan, it's tough going.
No, we talked about returning state champions and the two Ocampo girls. Right now, thinking Isabella may dress Russell girls only, that's yet to be determined. And at some point in time, you got to make that decision. But the other girls that you had placed in state last year that helped you win that overall team title, what are their aspirations after watching two of their teammates be state champions?
Right. They want to climb the podium. Olivia Bodie's placed every year. She's been there, and she's got one rung higher on the ladder every year. She placed third last year. She wants to compete at 145. Heaven Gardner, same way. She's just getting better and better. She doesn't have a whole lot of experience, but she's athletic, she's strong, she's aggressive, and that's what win wrestling matches. And
we had so much fun following those two last year between the semi-state and the state finals.
Yeah, they're our leaders emotionally. We have April Lagner, who got a pretty tough draw at semi-state. Sam's other daughter, Lanessa Ocampo, she's tough. She competes with all those girls in practice and beats them on occasions. So she's going to be great for us as a freshman.
Talk about 3A and Team State and where you guys stand in that general dimension.
Oh, well, we want to be top four. We want a banner. I mean, that's going to be our aspirations. I think we have the team that we're going to be able to do it. It's later in the season, so by then I think all of our kids are going to be on weight. We should have the lineup that we're going to continue with during the state series. I feel really good about our lineup this year and where our kids are going to fall, but it will take us a bit to get where they need to be and just kind of get used to that. I'm happy that it's after Christmas and they're going to have that extra 2 pounds.
I forget, what is your typical holiday schedule? For a while you guys were going to, was it North? No, where were you going?
Yeah, we go to North Montgomery.
Okay, that's what
they do. A great tournament down there where they do duels on the first day, and then they do a 16-team bracket on the second day. So and they just run a lot faster, obviously than a regular one. But we like that. We like to travel. It's fun for the kids to get in a hotel. It's fun to get out of our area and see other schools.
It is, and I think there's got to be a balance of that in a team schedule. I think you can schedule too many of those trips, or you can see some teams scheduled and you think, man, don't they ever have that weekend of, and I've been traveling and following Belmont for decades, and those weekends where you stay in hotels, it's bonding for the parents and the coaches and the kids and the managers and everybody in between, and it's really important to have something like that on your schedule.
Yeah, our kids really enjoy it, so we Wabash College is in Crawfordsville, and we got some ties there still, so they let us in their room. It's a real fun experience. We practice that night, and then we wake up in the morning and wrestle, and yeah, it's fun. It's fun for our parents too. They like to, let loose a little bit. So,
well, we're glad to look forward to your season coming up, as we will be there Wednesday night. And with that, let's send it back to studio. Steve Rouse on the board for us, back with more High School Wrestling Weekly here on WZBD.
Renowned around the Midwest for his skills and his creative abilities, Nate Bowers and the team at Bowers Paint Studio in Decatur work with a wide range of clients, from collision repair to custom paint jobs for classic cars and motorcycles. Located on Monroe Street on the west side of Decatur, Bowers is your place for body work too, whether it's getting your ride back on the road or finally getting that classic car, the paint job you've always wanted. Stop by or give Nate a call to put the best in the business to work for you.
Based out of the Indiana Tech Wrestling Facility, the Warrior Regional Training Center is an elite training center for youth wrestlers, high school wrestlers, and college and senior level athletes. Featuring a college coaching staff with a strong history of developing talent and producing results, Warrior RTC will give any wrestler quality training partners to push them to new levels in the state-of-the-art 25,000 square foot wrestling building. The training is affordable and private training is also available. Put Warrior RTC in your corner this season.
Hager Hersheyville High School Wrestling Weekly. Rex Brewer along with Dane Fuelling. Now we're joined by the coach of the Columbia City Eagles, Blane Culp. And Blane, first off, how was your race season this summer?
It wasn't too bad. I ended up being a points champion at one of the tracks, so lucked into that.
So you follow wrestling during the summer. I follow Blane's racing career.
I do appreciate the updates. If I ever need any sort of racing part.
If you need a wing.
Yes.
He's got lots of wings for sale.
I got those everywhere.
I don't know if a wing would fit
you
on top of my brother's.
You can get them for 75 cents tonight.
Put a wing on top of my brother's Legend car. Would that work?
That'd be perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Blane, unfortunately, our season does not begin with a Belmont versus Columbia City dual meet like it did for so many years. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the Columbia City Eagles and what we need to know about your upcoming season?
We're going to have huge numbers on the boys' side. So my last two middle school classes have been like 25 eighth graders. I don't know how many I'll get out of this class. Obviously, we start up tomorrow, but there was 25 on the roster, and I think I'm going to end up with probably 15 or so, be my guess. And then, of course, last year I think I ended up with 18 of them. So, and then you pair that with my juniors now, there's 15 of those. So the numbers are really skyrocketing right now. And I don't know if you guys have ever watched Indian Springs, but they had 85 kids on the team last year, and it's pretty brutal.
I watch a decent amount of middle school sports now when it comes down to having a cheerleader and a soccer player. Between boys soccer, girls soccer, the middle school wrestling team, and the middle school football team, there's a lot of kids active at Indian Springs, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're doing a good job with their athletic programs now.
So, we just had an NE8 coach on ahead of you. I think the conference is going to be incredibly competitive. I really do love. I was just talking to somebody this weekend about the duels format with Friday and Saturday in December, and then the conference tournament later on. Outside of maybe one team that might be lagging behind at the bottom, I think it's a really competitive conference through the middle.
Hey, I'm trying to score more than 12 points this time. I think we only scored 12 offensive points last year, and at least in a single duel. And I think we'll be a lot better than I got basically that whole team back, minus the heavyweight. So I mean, we should be a little bit more competitive than what we were last year, and hopefully not the bottom, the dwellers.
So, Blaine, Dane alluded to the fact a little bit ago about traditionally there's always been that Belmont versus Columbia City match the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. What did that mean to the Columbia City fans compared to what we knew what it meant to being the first match for the Belmont fans? Because I can remember some iconic battles. The one year we wrestled in the little tech center there. My first grandson was born when I was there. I mean, it was all kinds of stuff. But that intensity of that match was just incredible. Do your fans have that same passion for it as the Belmont fans did?
Yeah, absolutely. I would vote 100% in getting rid of the Friday-Saturday duels and going back to what we had.
It back?
I would bring that back in a heartbeat, even if it was pick two and wrestle the other 5 on that Saturday.
Yeah, that's an option.
I would love to do that because I almost feel because our conference is so good right now and so deep that we're going to have a lot of injuries on these Friday, Saturdays, and injuries that hopefully don't end up being like super serious. I think Belmont had a serious injury 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I actually lost a kid last year with a dislocated elbow. So I mean,
that's
a freak thing, but
it does challenge a coaching staff in that you really do benefit from having a deeper lineup in that 2-day event because there are times when you need to say. We were talking about running clocks earlier in football.
Yeah.
You need to be able to say, okay, we don't need this guy now. We can
absolutely.
save him for the next round. With the 2 matches on Friday, you kind of take your risk, and a lot of that depends on the coin flip and the starting weight and those types of things. But I was completely random, but I was looking through old highlight videos because B.J. Ferrote retired this last year. And so he brought up on a dolly an entire file cabinet of stuff that he says, Dane, this is not going to my house. And it ended up in my room, and that's where it sits now. There was just so much passion and fire in Randy and Brent in those matches. And you can
Absolutely.
see it in those highlight tapes that B.J. Ferrote made. They don't have any audio, and they just have Van Halen screaming in the backgrounds. But you don't need audio to hear the passion that was in Randy Kirby's voice for that probably 10-year, 12-year stretch.
He was there from, 90? I think he's right at 10 years, like 98 to 08-ish, somewhere in there. But, I think he won 8 sectionals out of those 10 years or 11, whatever it was. And
I'm certainly excited. We were talking about the girls' state tournament and the dual meet side of the thing. I hope that the girls get as much enjoyment out of that series as we did when we were in high school.
Yeah, the real series.
Because
where you earned all the way through.
I really do miss that part of the season and just the way that it sometimes only wrestling on Saturdays in the boys season now feels a bit empty just because, you and I are both at that age that we grew up that was what you did. You wrestled on Saturday and then you waited till Wednesday and then you went right back to Saturday and now we've kind of lost that. As much fun as the team state tournament is now, and you've been a part of it multiple times, and I know Coach Linn's a part of it, and we have to split our time between the two because all 3 Adams County schools are in it again. There's still a part of me that still misses Wednesdays.
That it's so much fun. I hear coaches say all the time, yeah, but it's so hard on the kids to make weight. Well, as a wrestler, I hated 5-day weeks.
Yeah.
I wanted that break in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
I'd much rather drive up to Belmont and wrestle you guys.
Blane, I haven't been able to bring myself to it. This is a text from Randy Kirby the week he passed away. I still got it on my phone.
Yeah, he was a great figure for this part of the state and somebody whose memory is going to live on for a long time.
Well, I worked so many of their matches. I was in the tournaments I refereed. Columbia City was there. I had so many of your matches, and it's almost like every week I got to see Randy Kirby and his coaching staff, and some of that coaching staff's still with you. I mean, and it's like those guys, what did it mean to you coming up and breaking as a new coach working with Randy?
I can tell you so this is year 15 for me, and there hasn't been one practice where I haven't said some kind of Kirbyism. And, of course, you guys know Thor Hodges, and then we have another coach that I'm now bringing up from the middle school to the high school, Jeremy Lopez, that those two, their entire vocabulary is Randy Kirby. Like, I don't know what they would say if they didn't know Randy. So it's cool to see, him live on through all these years, and it's just stuff that he randomly said.
Good old buddy of mine I used to wrestle with during summer tournaments, and Todd Deitch, and the Deitch was part of your program for years and years as well.
So, Blane, this is a kickoff show. We've got plenty of head coaches here. Talk us through a little bit about what your preparation is for tomorrow. As a teacher, I know the importance of first day of school and setting that tone, especially for the kids who haven't had you before. And I know that in wrestling it's a little bit different because most kids that come onto the team, they have a general idea of what the varsity head coach is like.
Yeah.
But still, there's some kids who really don't know you at all. how important is what happens tomorrow setting the tone for the rest of the year?
Honestly, I think it's more of forgetting last year. It was one of the worst years that I've had since I've started. Of completely resetting their goals. And I actually have a lot of football guys on our team, so I haven't seen them all since we got out of school, really. So it's, getting those guys back in the room and then saying, hey, do you want the same year as last year, or do you want to completely move on and let's go get some more guys down to state? We broke a 10-year streak, and now we got to start another one.
And how do you go about goal setting? Is that a written reflection type activity? Is it a conversational activity, or is it different with every kid?
It's usually different with every kid. So after their last match last year is when I have them make it. So say a kid loses at the Carroll Regional or Carroll Sectional, I'll pull them off to the side and I'll say, hey, when you get home tonight, you need to write your goal down and write how you're going to get to that goal. How are you going to work to that? Is that you sitting on the couch, or is that you up doing something, even if they're a track runner or baseball player or whatever? What are you doing to work towards your goal for next year?
Does that really seem to help the fact that have them set their goal than for you as a coach to set it for them?
I think so, because it's one that they want.
Yeah.
It's one that they want rather than me saying, hey, I think you can do this next year. And then obviously I've stepped in. Actually, I just talked to our girls yesterday, Friday, their last practice by themselves, and I made each of them say their goal out loud. And there was one that I stopped, and I said, that's not good enough. She said she just wanted a place, and I said, that's not good enough, because I think you can be at the top of the podium. And you can see it in their face how they react to it. And, when a big smile comes on their face, I think they see that I believe in them.
One of those sayings is if you strive for mediocrity, odds are you're going to hit it.
Yes.
And I know that, in following your mentor, Randy Kirby, Randy had a guy that wrestled him years ago, and he was a 5'0", little round guy, and he had him wrestling 215. And Randy Kirby told that kid he could win matches, and he was winning matches he had no business winning, but Randy told him he could win those matches, and he won them. And it's like, I'd be refereeing a match like, this kid's going to get stoned, and it's like, out of nowhere, he catches some kid on his back pin. It's like, how did that happen? But, that was the motivation. The Russ Isaacs used to motivate like that. The Randy Kirby, some of these other coaches have been motivating kids for years. Just incredible.
Yeah, I wish I had half of Randy Kirby's talent, but man, he's definitely missed, and I wish he could come into the room at some points and even just to talk to the guys, but can't do that anymore. So.
Coach, any changes to your boys' schedule this year, varsity-wise?
No, the boys I believe we did drop North Miami, and we're wrestling Carroll now. So that's really the only change there. The girls, really, we added a big Thanksgiving 2-day tournament. I'm excited about that. We're at 46 teams right now.
Where's that at?
We're hosting it.
Oh, you're hosting it.
We're hosting.
Okay, individual tournament.
Yes.
That's what I was going to ask. Are more schools picking up, making more tournaments, or you just have to make your own tournament?
No, there's quite a few tournaments out there. It's not quite like the boys yet, to where a lot of the boys tournaments are 8 teams, or sometimes you're starting to see 16 teams now, or even your 6-team duels. Right now it's kind of, hey, we want in your tournament, and they take the top 20 teams or until they get to 150 girls. So really you're kind of picking and choosing where you want to go.
So when we show up on Wednesday for your match against Coach Linn's Bulldogs, what can we expect?
Probably a lot of pins.
You're pretty confident?
I am very confident.
How many weights do you expect to fill on Wednesday?
12. I think I'll have 12 full. I have 2 girls out right now for disciplinary reasons, but I think I'll have 12 of them full for that duel. Hopefully. Maybe only 11.
Maybe on a parking lot, because he said he had 2 girls that weren't eligible either, so just have them meet out in the parking lot.
You can have them as an extracurricular on the football field.
I don't know how many matches we'll have, but I guarantee they're all pins, one way or the other.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to getting the season started.
It'll take me longer to set up the equipment than it will for the match.
And if you're listening right now and you're a New Haven or a Columbia City fan or just a fan of wrestling, make sure that you tune into the YouTube channel on Wednesday. That should be a lot of fun as we get the season kicked off, and then before you know it, we'll be at your place, right? Are we going to get a bunch of Columbia City?
Yeah, we're actually hosting 4 tournaments this year.
That homemade hospitality room little action going on there.
We'll see.
Conference duels and conference tournament?
Yeah, we got conference duels, conference tournament for the boys, and then the girls, we have Thanksgiving tournament and the sectional, or whatever we're calling it.
Sectional, regional, state is the way
so
that I understand. Now, I am a little bit partial, and I don't know what your opinion is. We don't want to talk about the Eagle and the blow up, and none of that. But are you partial to the press box way up in the corner, or do you like it down low there in the second row?
The corner's not bad. Depends if it's dual meet, one down low. If it's tournament up high in the corner is fine.
Because I know I've done the last couple of matches, and I've been there about row 2. Good access to the plugs and good internet, but they turn off the darn lights. I finally bought a plug-in USB.
I've got one
like you've got over there, but
you don't like our lights coming off?
Well, it's just hard to broadcast when you're there.
Well, they're off and on and off and on. So
yep.
Well, I'll tell you what, Blane, thanks for making the drive down here. I hope you enjoy the time with the other coaches. And with that, the first period at B has ended. Let's send it back to the studio for a round of commercials. Back with more High School Wrestling Weekly here on WZBD Radio.
Wygand Construction in Fort Wayne is building landmarks that impact the lives and communities we serve. At Wygand, we believe that our most important responsibility as a building contractor and construction company is to stand by our commitments to our clients and to our community. That's why we believe in supporting high school athletics, where our local teenagers show their commitments to their teammates, their coaches, their schools, and their communities. Wygand Construction. Trust. Well built.
The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home is honored to serve the community we love and live in. Locally owned and operated by Ryan Hershey and Eric Zelt, we understand that each family we serve and each life lived tells a unique story. Our goal is to offer comfort, care, and dignity to all who entrust their loved ones to our care. We are proud to call Adams County our home and look forward to serving you for generations to come.
Welcome back to the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill for the High School Wrestling Weekly here, hosted once again by Double Eagle. And we have part of the Haggard Hershey Zelt team in the house tonight. We'd like to thank him for his sponsorship, and Ryan Hershey's made his way in, and I hope he enjoys his evening here talking wrestling. And we're joined now by Nathan Wynn of the South Adams Starfires.
All right, thanks for having me.
Yep, Coach, we're glad that you were able to make it, and I'm just pulling up the varsity schedule here. I got to eliminate all the soccer and golf and swimming. We're not worried about that right now. Although I do love when the swimming match is the same time as the wrestling, because then I can get in there, grab a few pictures, and then hop back out before anybody notices me. But I do think that outside of maybe one Saturday tournament, I think we are fully covered on the varsity schedule for the Starfires. I asked you earlier, you said there's no changes to the schedule.
Yep, no changes.
That means that WZBD's microphones will be at Cowan, will be at home against Delta this year, so we don't have to go to Delta. I know you've got a match against Coldwater or Fort Recovery or Coldwater. And then you've got the ACAC duels. You got the Belmont match, which will be at Belmont this year. WZBD is going to be at the ECIC, and we'll be at your match against Huntington North. We'll have you guys at Team State, and I think it's just the 2 invites then. I think Newcastle, that tournament is tough for us to cover because we don't know who's going to wrestle when and that kind of thing. And I know the teams have changed a couple times, and then I think you guys are still going to the individual tournament at Garrett.
Yes.
And I think that's the weekend of the girls' state finals.
Okay.
I think. So outside of those 2 tournaments, we'll have every single match for South Adams Wrestling on WZBD. And if you would have said that to some South Adams fans 5 years ago, they would have laughed at you, I think.
Yeah, well, we love it. We appreciate the coverage. We've been trying to kind of work on getting our exposure out more in our community, just kind of build up our program. That's a huge part of it, and we really appreciate it.
Well, I think they realize that sponsorship is what brings the radio to your matches.
Yeah, and there's been some great sponsors that have stepped up and have appreciated what we've done. And I was just looking at the rest of the schedule. We also have your match at Norwell late in January, and then, of course, that weekend where we do both conference tournaments, the ACAC on Friday. if they ever change that, I'm going to be very angry because I love being able to give the ACAC its due and the NEA its due the next morning. That's exactly how I really wish that we could get the 2 conference tournaments on the dual side of things to be on separate weekends so that we could get those to go off. But it is nice that they're split between Friday and Saturday because we're able to get those. So tell us a little bit about numbers. Obviously, if you want to talk about football from Friday night, it was absolutely insane. It was wonderful. It was everything that you want a high school football game to be. But I know selfishly you as maybe somebody who has wrestling just slightly higher, if Coach Mosier's listen, close your ears. Wrestling just slightly higher than football on your priority list. I know a little bit of you thought, oh, no, now we're going to lose another week of practice. Because some of your best guys really, truly are the heart and soul of that football team, along with Dakota, who competed at cross country this weekend.
Yeah, I will admit at halftime of that game, I'm a huge football fan. I run our youth program. I want us to win every single game. At halftime, I'm like, at least we get everyone for first week of wrestling practice. That's not the worst thing. But that comeback was crazy. 3 touchdowns, 50 seconds. Never seen that before.
You should have seen the group text for the WZBD broadcasters is going around. It's like we're looking. It's like, yeah, that game's over. And all of a sudden, Dane's like 3 touchdowns in 56 seconds. It's like, wait a minute. I mean, you guys, you almost went to running clock.
Yeah, I thought we were getting running clocked. I'm like, okay, we got our guys out, but it was an awesome game. Proud of them. Like you said, some of our best wrestlers are also some of our best football players. Will Patterson, starting running back. Wes Somerset. Nathan Plattner's our leading tackler from the linebacker spot. So it's going to be great to watch them play a sectional championship. They're not going to have fun having to try to catch up on that week and a half, or however long that run is, how much they got to catch up on practices.
And it's not lost on me, and maybe some people don't realize it, but the difference in that team once West came back, so much more dynamic and just such a different team. I think that's one of the reasons why they got overlooked in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been great having him back. I'm glad he got back from that leg injury, and yeah, he's been playing great. This last game was his best game this season, like 5 catches, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he's been really coming on strong, and it's been great football. I'm really looking forward to what he can do on the wrestling mat this season, too.
Yeah, and he's a guy that, and I told Rex this because he doesn't get to see as many middle school matches as I do. That very first match we're talking about with South Adams, I'm like, this guy's going to pass your eye test because he's built, and, he's only going to get better as time goes on. And, of course, we want to give a shout-out to Dakota Sprunger, an awesome cross-country season and a great accomplishment to be able to run at state for cross-country in Indiana in single class. It really is an accomplishment. And you'll also notice if you look at the placements on the website today, like he didn't just sneak in. He belonged there. There's 90 kids that finished behind him who, because of the way that the regionals go, it's a little bit different, but he absolutely belonged there. He had a great season working his way forward all year long, and I really hope that parlays itself into a great wrestling season.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to his season. Very proud of his cross-country season. We didn't know what to expect from him. He was kind of running low 17s. We're like, okay, that's probably not state level. And then within a 2-3 week span, it went to, 1650, broke that mark. Now you're 1630. And you're looking at the times for state to go last year, and it's like, you're right on the cusp if you run that again. And that was great. And I told him, after state was over, hey, congrats, it's a good run, and we're hoping to get him there back to another state tournament here later this year.
I spend Saturday mornings talking to Coach Mosier, and I listened to the interview because my game finished before that one did, and I listened to Ed Thurman interview him, and it was great because he's maturing as a coach as well, and he'll tell you, he's the first one to tell you that he needs that coaching experience. And he said halftime he's going to rip him, and it's like, no, wait a minute, that's not right. He said the guy's composure came in and just talked to him, and he said they made a lot of changes. He said it was a different game, and it's like, as kids mature, I think coaches mature as well, and it's like, okay, what is yelling at him going to do? Nothing. So okay, that's done. Let's start over, and it worked because they come back out in the second half and shut him out.
Yeah, and that's That's a big thing. Me and Sawyer talk about that, is just how you approach kids. It's so much different for wrestling also. You can't just go into a locker room and rip the 15, 20 varsity players as a collective. It's like, I got my 106-pounder as a freshman. He's going to handle something differently than my 190-pound senior. And that's just that's something that we've talked about, how do we handle this stuff, and it's just so new to us, just new coaches, and like you said, Grant, even figuring that stuff out a decade later. But yeah,
and there's no other sport like it where you've got 14 different guys from 4 different grades of 10 different ability levels that you've got to be able to link together. And like you said, you can't just treat them all the same when it comes to the team talk that you give them.
Yeah, ask any of these coaches out here. You cannot coach every kid the same, because some of them they'll roll up and die, and some of them they'll walk through walls for you. But every kid's a little bit different.
Now, who will be at practice on Monday? I guess that's the question.
So it'll be basically all our non-football players. We'll have some, like our freshman football players will be there. Max Adams played JV football. We're looking forward to him at 106.
Tell us a little bit more about him.
So Max, incoming freshman, he'll be our 106-pounder. Had a great middle school career. I think he lost one match his 7th grade year, was undefeated in the middle school season his 8th grade year, and then he placed 6th at 16U Iswa State in March, and he had a good run there, good summer. Looking forward to having him in the varsity lineup this year.
So I would assume that probably means that you'll probably see someone like Titus Loshi up at maybe 113, something like that, and Sprunger 120, 126 probably?
Yep, we're still not sure where everyone's going to be between 13 and 32. It feels like everyone somehow weighs 130 pounds. But we haven't got anyone on an actual scale, just asking people around. So we have a lot of talent between our 113 to our 132, 138 spots, and it's just we'll see where all that kind of settles out. We'll have most of those guys here, like Dakota, Daniel Rupp, Braxton Kirchner coming back from his shoulder injury, and then we'll get Will Patterson in that area in a couple weeks. But that's an area of strength for us. Just got to see kind of how it shakes out.
Well, here before we say goodbye to you for this segment, tell us a little bit about Sawyer as a head coach, about being ready to take over the program. What do you see from your end?
We are so excited to have Sawyer as our head coach. Obviously, he's got all the credentials, the best wrestler to come out of our program, national champion. He has all the technical knowledge you need, and he's very good at explaining it. He also does a great job with the kids. It's not just a good wrestler showing up and like, I'm just going to be the head coach because of who I am as a wrestler. He really wants to develop these kids as wrestlers, as good young men, and he's taken a lot of steps forward to being a great coach, not just a great wrestler that is a head coach.
And I know you understand this, and all these guys that are around us, it takes 10 guys to run a good team. I mean, you got to have that size of staff to be able to really put forward a good dual meet team and to run a program. And it really does take not just a head coach, but a bunch of assistants and volunteers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we kind of keep increasing that every year. Kind of had 5-6 guys. Maybe the first year I was there as an assistant. We keep adding our graduates. Silas Loshi was on staff last year. Colton Bolenbacher is going to be a volunteer assistant this year. Robert Loshi's still going to be hanging around. So is Barry Humble. Isaiah Meyer, his 2 brothers, Abe and Ethan, will be helping out also. So we got a pretty good staff put together, and excited to see what they can do.
Well, I appreciate that stopping, talking in with us, giving us our update on South Adams Starfires, and we'll send it back to the studio for a round of commercials with Steve Rouse back with more High School Wrestling Weekly here on WZBD.
Renowned around the Midwest for his skills and his creative abilities, Nate Bowers and the team at Bowers Paint Studio in Decatur work with a wide range of clients, from collision repair to custom paint jobs for classic cars and motorcycles. Located on Monroe Street on the west side of Decatur, Bowers is your place for body work too, whether it's getting your ride back on the road or finally getting that classic car, the paint job you've always wanted. Stop by or give Nate a call to put the best in the business to work for you.
Does your smile need work? Maybe it's time for a cleaning and exam. Visit Laura Kugelhahn, DDS, and her knowledgeable, caring staff at Complete Smiles on North Main Street in Bluffton. Dr. Kugelhahn would love to help you maintain your dental health or transform your smile. Whatever your needs might be, Complete Smiles is there to help you. Dr. Kukulhan is currently accepting new patients. Call 824-3100 to schedule an appointment.
Welcome back once again to the Hager-Hershey-Zelt High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. And we're now joined by the coach of the Homestead Spartans and also the owner and curator of the Fort Wrestling Facility, Andy Oberlin.
How we doing?
We're good.
Good.
Welcome to the show. Glad that you were able to make it. And I know from everything I know about you, I know you're excited tonight, probably lacking a little bit of sleep going into tomorrow morning. And that first practice is always exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who all shows up.
And I think for every coach, that's kind of the big question. And maybe people that are casually listening or are just casual fans don't realize just how much recruitment there is. There are conversations that go on even in the summer, but really once the school year starts, especially for people who teach, it starts in August. You analyze what they're doing as a fall sport or what they're not doing, and then September comes, and then you have your call-out meeting. You have maybe a sign-up sheet, and then you analyze what that list looks like, and you're like, this guy's not on here. And then you maybe consult your assistants, and you say, okay, what do we need to do to get this guy to consider? And there's those kids that you're like, well, he didn't sign up. I guess we're just going to lose him. But you never want to lose a kid.
Yeah. Even with technology, right? Final Forms is a big thing that a lot of schools have. And I'm looking at it, I got 66 kids on there and then 7 girls. That's a lot. A lot of freshmen that I don't necessarily know how many of them are going to show up. I know who my A team is and I know who my B team is 110%. But those others that I haven't really built a relationship with or know that well, that'll be interesting.
How many of those freshman kids spent time at the fort?
My freshman class is really good. That's my senior class and my freshman class are, which you always kind of want. You want a little bit of a
right.
That way the freshmen have an opportunity to kind of see what's going on with a good leading senior class. But my freshman class, a lot of those kids I've had since they were really low, and so quite a few of those freshmen.
And you were talking about not knowing from your freshmen, your A and B team kind of already settled, but wrestling's one of those sports where you got to let that kid wrestle as a freshman and go through a JV schedule and find out who they are when it comes down to their demeanor and the way they act on the mat and just being allowed to grow. I've got a son who's an 8th grader, and I can't wait for that maturity to kick in to see what his next step is going to be. And you can't judge a kid based on what they look like as an August 9th grader.
Dude, puberty is a huge thing.
Because
it's everything.
That's a kid that you're going to need to fill a weight class as a junior 2.5 years later, that you're going to wish that you would have kept on him and got him to come out and wrestle. And that's where, and I'm sure with the size of team that you're talking about, it's not a one-man recruitment tool. You've got to have your assistants on it. You got to have your guys who are teachers, who are part of your staff, out there encouraging them, like, we need you. Don't worry about wrestling varsity or winning wrestle-offs or cutting weight or any of those things. We need you in the room being a part of the team because, a year from now, 2 years from now, you're going to be able to contribute to the varsity team.
I know it's going to sound weird, but I tell kids now, when they come into the room, either you're committed or get out. I'm just serious. You'll weigh it down if you're not in there with full commitment.
Well, coaches with 67 wrestlers
correct.
Think different than coaches with 27.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and because
it can water it down.
Yeah.
You can make the room worse by more, right? Numbers aren't always wonderful.
Correct. And we talk to a lot of coaches who are in your position. And it's through no fault of your own. You're talking to some 1A coaches over the next couple of weeks who would die for those types of numbers, but it's not your fault that you have 67 guys, and you've got to coach a team that has 65 guys on it, and you've got to coach it differently than the 1A schools who are trying to get to 21 guys or 19 guys. And like you said, if your 65 guys are weighing down your progress and you'd be better off with 55, then you better believe you need to get rid of those 10 guys.
I'm actually doing 2 practices this year, one an A and a B. My kids that are dedicated have put a lot of time in. and there's no way that I can bring them into a practice and say, all right, boys, we're going to learn a double leg today. That's not fair to them.
So what's your practice schedule look like? What facility is the one group using, and what's the timing for that? After school or 5:30 or?
So I'm trying to do the B practice for a lot of the freshmen and those kids that aren't right after school, about half hour school, 3 to 4:30, 3 to 5-ish, and then 5 to 6:30 for the next one. And give the varsity kids some opportunity to come in and help out with the other practice.
Some overlap between the two groups?
Yeah, some overlap between the two groups. And then, if a kid's not working hard enough, he shifts down, right? And if a kid is doing what needs to be done, and they graduate up. So it's a good problem to have, but it's a lot to manage.
I know. I've talked to coaches in the past that have had a room that had so many kids in it that they had the auxiliary mats outside the room, and those kids, it was a goal. You need to show something outside the room, and you make the big time. It's like getting called up from the majors,
Correct.
It's like, what are you going to do out on the auxiliary mat to get pulled into the big room?
Correct.
Where you're going to, how much you put out in it. That's a motivation tool. Some people might think, oh, you push this kid out into the room. Well, that motivates him to get into the big room.
Correct. Yep.
So from a varsity perspective, when's your first match for the boys?
It's New Haven, actually. It's a Tuesday before Thanksgiving duels. We picked it up this year early. So
that's a sacred date for us. We spent a 5-minute conversation talking about the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah,
I think it's an appropriate time to get away. Now, if I remember right, do you wrestle the weekend of Thanksgiving?
Yeah, we have a Thanksgiving duels at Homestead.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Like 12 teams,
so
which
I know
Blane's at.
Some coaches are against that initial Tuesday, Friday, Saturday weigh-in around Thanksgiving, but it's a short season, and you got to be ready to go.
Dude, high school's a short time. It's 4 years. That goes by quick.
Yeah, you can rest when you're done.
Correct.
Now you said
Maybe.
your Friday and Saturday duels after Thanksgiving.
It's only Saturday.
It's only Saturday.
Blane has been poking me, and I feel Blane is going to leave next year if I don't make it a 2-day event. Like, that's the impression I've gotten from his messages. I thought he was going to leave me this year, but I think he's busy doing his 2-day girl tournament.
They're just idle threats.
Yeah.
So how many teams do you have right now for your
12
Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
How much time do you spend as a head coach thinking about scheduling and tournaments and who's in the field and what's good for me and what's good for the overall area around you?
Well, not that much. You get kind of a set schedule, but as the team gets better, you start to try to pick up more. We started going to Henry Wilkes last year. I've been really trying to get into the Al Smith. Sandifer promises me that I'm next on the list, but we'll see. So we're going over the Ohio tournament, which Blane does, which has like 64 teams or something like that.
Is that Defiance?
Yeah. The Tri-State. So just really trying to level it up depending on where you're at. I came close to picking up Warren this year, which would have been cool, having an Indianapolis school. So, but as far as the area goes, another one, we talk about it. Getting Garrett on as a dual would be a good one.
So, Andy,
picking up New Haven is going to be wonderful.
Andy, before we let you go in this segment, winding down here, you had a girl that kind of surprised us. She may not have surprised you last year in her tournament run, but talk about your girl that placed high in state for you last year and where she, how she lifted your girls program.
So, like I said, I had 9 girls, and then a couple already backed off. But Katie came in 2 years ago, and went into the room and hit my son with an inside trip. Like within 5 minutes of being in the room, I'm like, what was that? My son goes, what's going on here? She's like, I did some judo, right? But she's been locked in and focused, and she does every event. I actually got to pull back a little bit and be like, hey, you don't need to do this one, right? She wants to go do everything, and I was watching her in the last 2 weeks. And I coach her all the time. She's in the fort all the time. She's probably one of the best technicians and moves better than almost all boys I've coached. She's fundamentally sound. She got second last year, and there's only one more place in the podium, and that's her goal. Is it? And she keeps working for it.
Well, we appreciate you coming down and sitting in and talking with us, and I'm certain we'll see you around the wrestling circuit later on this year.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
With that, let's send it back to the studio for a round of commercials. Back with more High School Wrestling Weekly right here on WZBD.
Based out of the Indiana Tech Wrestling Facility, the Warrior Regional Training Center is an elite training center for youth wrestlers, high school wrestlers, and college and senior level athletes. Featuring a college coaching staff with a strong history of developing talent and producing results, Warrior RTC will give any wrestler quality training partners to push them to new levels in the state-of-the-art 25,000 square foot wrestling building. The training is affordable and private training is also available. Put Warrior RTC in your corner this season.
DDD Maintenance and Repair, owned and operated by Shane Reynolds, has your local professionals for heavy-duty truck and diesel engine repair. DDD Maintenance and Repair also offers full-service sand and glass blasting for your surface restoration projects. Whether it's getting your heavy-duty truck and diesel engine running like new or sandblasting your project to look like new, we have a blast renewing the past. Give Shane and the guys a call at 260-223-5442. That's DDD Maintenance and Repair.
Welcome back to Haggard Hershey's Eld High School Wrestling Weekly, hosted by the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. Once again, food's fantastic here at the Double Eagle Clubhouse Grill. I'd like to thank the fans that we have come out here.
Mine's sitting over there.
I'll go out and eat some of it. You can interview Harley and Sam, and I'll go out and have a bite of that turkey melt. But once again, Dana wants to pull up the schedule and see what all we got going here for this season.
Yeah, we are excited about our start to the season, of course, as we mentioned earlier in the show. We're going to kick off our girls' broadcast on Wednesday with the dual meet between Columbia City and New Haven. Join us for that. Should be a fun broadcast. We'll be on YouTube. And then our boys' broadcast, the first match that we're doing on radio will be the Wawasee at Belmont match. And Rex, you weren't there because you were at football last year, and you very well may be at football again.
I think I got a good chance of that
this year, but that was a fun one up at Wawasee last year. They gave Belmont a good challenge.
Until somebody got hurt.
Yeah.
He texted me, I think someone's hurt bad.
That was a really hard broadcast to do because it was dead silence in the gym for about 15 minutes until the paramedics came. But
you can only play so many commercials on the radio.
Thankfully, that young man was okay after that. And look at this Belmont team. You know, I think Belmont's not at risk of having any forfeits. They're going to have a very thin lineup when it comes to overall numbers, but I do think that they're going to have a really solid dual meet team, as they have for the last 2 years, right? They've only lost one duel in the last two years, I think. So, and then we'll pick up the next match is actually a Belmont match, although I think there is some dispute as to whether Belmont and Snyder are actually going to wrestle on Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I'm not sure what's going on there, but if that does change, currently the Belmont Event Link schedule says Belmont's wrestling Snyder on the Tuesday of Thanksgiving. But
that's not on our schedule, is it?
The last time I talked to the athletic department, that was maybe up in the air. So, and the reason for that is because Adams Central and Belmont were originally scheduled to wrestle on a Tuesday or Thursday in mid-December, and both coaches were like, no, we had way too much fun last year. We need to make this another event. So they moved it to January, and I believe it's on a Friday night again, January 3rd. So what feels like it should be the night before Team State, but it's not because Team State's a full week later. Well, Belmont was supposed to wrestle Snyder that Thursday night, January 2nd. And, of course, you don't want to go back-to-back nights on dual meets. So they moved that match, but we'll see where that one ends up. Super excited about South Adams and Cowan. Those are two teams that were in the top 8 last year in 1A, and certainly going to both be contenders this year. I can't reveal the top 10 in 1A because it's going to be in the preseason mag, but if you buy the preseason mag, you'll know where they are, and you'll get that information eventually. Don't you have a surprise possible color man for that match? I do. We are working on getting a surprise color man for that match with, I don't know if we want to reveal it now or we'll wait. Don't forget, by the way, we are on our regular schedule now. We're every Sunday, unless the Colts or Purdue basketball interfere, we're every Sunday at 7 o'clock. Some nights we're going later, some nights we're going, and then when we get to, I think, the Super Bowl, once again, I don't know how they let the Super Bowl supersede us, but... Do we have to do a broadcast from my basement again? No, I think that because the Team State is a week later now, all the way to January. I got 11th. Snacks. I got snacks in the oven. I can fire it up again. It was a lot of fun. We are going to have that South Adams at Cowan match. We'll be at Bishop Dwenger when the Braves wrestle there. We'll have back-to-back Delta matches 2 days apart. They'll wrestle at South Adams on December 5th. They'll wrestle at Belmont on the 7th. And what a great match that was last year between Belmont and Delta. They wrestled each other twice, and that's a great rivalry that has been rekindled in the last couple of years.
Is that Belmont-Yorktown match still on the schedule?
It is. That's later in January. Also, we're really excited as we grow our relationship on WZBD with Heritage. Coach Litchfield has been in contact with us, really wanting to grow sort of his network of boosters and supporters for their wrestling program as he's trying to bring kids in, and he had some real success. A couple of his boys are really good athletes. So we're going to do a Heritage match in December. We'll also have Adams Central at Norwell, and we're going to have to give him a little bit of shtick here later on. The new Norwell head coach RSVP'd for tonight's show.
What?
And
does he know we have a show?
And he knows we have a show. He said
the last guy didn't.
Thank you so much for inviting us, and he didn't show up. We'll have to see. But we will have some Norwell matches for you as well. Then we'll have what should be a great duel, New Haven at Jake County. I was talking to Coach Linn earlier about the team duel portion of the girls' schedule. And I said, well, it's the same day as the conference tournaments, and we're probably going to have to be there. He said, well, I would think one of us is going to be there, right? I mean, between East Noble or New Haven or Columbia City or Jay County, I think they're bringing 8 teams to that team state duels. I would certainly think that one of the teams that we're associated with will be involved.
Where's your best buddy Eric Myers? Usually the Patriots are here represented.
Yeah,
Pat was here last show for the girls. Pat Rouse.
We'll have to give him a hard time and see if we can get him here next Sunday.
Put him on your group text.
Then, of course, we had that split weekend between the ACAC duels and the NE8 duels. The great thing about that set of tournaments is we wait until the athletic directors send us the schedules, and we analyze the 2 rounds on Friday and the 5 rounds on Saturday, and we say, okay, Friday we're going to go to ACAC, Saturday we're going to go to the NE8, and we try to pick the best matches for that when it comes to Adams Central, South Adams, and Belmont.
Now, are there matches this year where you're going to do 2 matches at the same time like we have in football and do a YouTube and a regular, or are we stretched a little thin for that?
Are you trying to say you don't want to spend Friday night with me?
No, I'm just saying there's been times when you've overbooked us and we just go different directions.
I've never done that. We also should have a really good duel between New Haven and Adams Central and Columbia City. Both of those coaches have already been on the program tonight. That's in late December. And then we'll have the dual meet between South Adams and Belmont. There were a couple of great bouts in last year's dual meet at the Stardome between the Starfires and the Braves. So that should be a good one. We'll have the ECIC and the Yorktown Super 10, and then I'll be at the Al Smith to bring you the action. And then when we come back after New Year's, we'll have Belmont and Adams Central. And what a wild, crazy duel that was last year with so many people. And Rex, you're probably jealous, but I sat in the stands last year for that Belmont AC match. It was wonderful. There were so many people there. And I know it came through on the radio. I really hope that Adams Central talks it up as much as Belmont did last year because they were the hosts, because that has the potential to be a really, really special night. Now, one thing about that January 3rd date that I've already got you lined up for on your calendar, that's girls wrestling sectional in the morning. So you get a double header of wrestling. Muncie Central Fieldhouse in the morning. You'll be on your way back, and then you'll be at Adams Central with me for the Belmont and AC match.
Where all locations does the High School Wrestling Weekly go to this year?
High School Wrestling Weekly will be at the Al Smith in Mishawaka in January, and we'll be at the state finals in Indianapolis. And there's probably a pretty good standing to do another episode at the girls' state finals.
Of course.
On that Friday.
Yeah, that'll work.
That'll be at the Pepsi Coliseum at the state fairgrounds.
I know we've talked about treating the girls' tournament equally. Why would we not have a High School Wrestling Weekly from the girls' tournament?
And then we will have the Jets at the Fighting Oberlins of Homestead in the first week of January. And then the girls' team regional, it sounds like, will be that Wednesday. Huntington North at South Adams that Thursday. Girls' semi-state Friday. And then team state from split locations that Saturday. So that is a great week of high school wrestling.
So who does Belmont wrestle on December 19th? That home match that they Switch around.
That is South Adams at Belmont.
You're going to have to get you a guess because I might be a little busy during the pre-match.
Rex is going to get his...
That is a.k.a. Ricky Bobby night.
It is going to be a great night as you and...
you get the joke. You don't have to be first, Ricky.
And, of course, like I said, we'll have the team state tournaments for 1A and 2A. And Gott sei Dank, they are going to be...
Gott sei Dank.
At Jay County and Adams Central. So I don't have to spend the night in Goshen or Rochester or Wabash or Greenwood or Franklin or wherever it's been the last couple of years that I've had to go. And then we'll have a couple of duels to wrap up the season. AC at Delta, Yorktown at Belmont, Carroll at Belmont, South Adams at Norwell. And then, of course, we've got the girls' state finals. And, Rex, I haven't told you this one yet, but...
you haven't told me a lot of things.
Well, I generally try to just...
ease into it.
Gradually let you know. There's a Belmont home match that's not going to be at Belmont. We're going old school in January. We're going back.
Back to the middle school?
Back
to the junior high?
Back to the old high school. So if you're a Belmont wrestling fan or you're just a fan of high school wrestling here in Adams County, that's one to mark on your calendars. That's January 16th. That'll be Belmont against Yorktown at the old Belmont High School.
With that, let's send it back to the studio for a round of commercials. Back with more High School Wrestling Weekly and talk to some more coaches here on WZBD.
Task of making arrangements for your loved one, many emotions and questions arise. What would they want me to do if they were here? Where is the money coming from? How much should I spend? Do they want burial or cremation? The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home can help you navigate these tough questions. Make your wishes known and allow us to make sure that your wishes are carried out. Call Ryan Hershey or Eric Zelt at 260-724-7167 to schedule an appointment today.
Hello, this is Joel from your local hometown Packaged Liquors. Packaged Liquors provides the best selection of domestic, import, and craft beers in Zeeland. With locations in Decatur, Monroe, Bern, and Markle, you're always just a short drive away from picking up the perfect last-minute gift or just the right six-pack to watch the game with friends. You're never a stranger when you walk through the doors, and our smiling staff never has a problem giving you a recommendation when you're not sure what it is you need. Stop in at one of our 4 locations and see what hometown service looks like. Packaged Liquors. It's where your friends shop.
And now we're joined by former Belmont wrestler and current assistant coach at the New Haven Bulldogs, Sam O'Campbell. Welcome to the program, Sam.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, we're really glad that...
You've been here once or twice, haven't you?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Really glad that the rest of the staff from New Haven was able to join us tonight. And we've already had a good discussion about area wrestling in Fort Wayne and talking about New Haven with the boys' schedule and the girls' schedule. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where your travels have taken you over the last 8 months since we left the Kokomo Fieldhouse with 2 state championships from the Ocampos?
Oh, well, there was lots of practicing involved through that. National tournaments. We had world team trials my daughter Juliana competed in. She went to Dominican Republic and also Lima, Peru. Won 2 gold medals for Team USA, so that was pretty nice. Did very well there. Had some camps, Olympic training centers, so that was, a great opportunity to try. And then, of course, just putting in time, having time here and there. We don't practice every single day like a lot of people think. I think it's like 24/7, nonstop. Now my kids, to have their time to have fun and, still have that. You go a couple times a week. So,
talk a little bit about recruitment. We were talking about Kings and earlier in the show, but how has that been as dad trying to work through that process?
All right. Actually, got a lot of support. So it was actually my in-laws that took her to go have that travel to King University. There's been a lot of universities reaching out, trying to get us, just trying to have time. It's very hard to have time. We have so much going on, in the household, work, and everything with all the kids. So trying to make that time was difficult. They offered to take her, went out there, checked it out, and she loved it, actually going. It was the assistant coach that was with her most of the time. Felt a great connection immediately. So they are number 1 team in the country. Iowa actually is number 2 right now, and North Central is 3rd. And she did offers, to go to North Central as well, and the Kendry, which is still something on her list that she would like to do. But it was kind of just one of those things, she felt a great connection right away, and we'll see what happens from there.
So, Sam, when you talked about traveling all around different places in the world, as a parent, I see dollar signs ringing in my head. I mean, is some of that picked up by like the world team and things like that, or is that just a lot of stuff out of Samuel Campo's pocket?
Samuel Campo doesn't have a pocket that deep.
Well, you just answered my question then.
Yeah. Once you get into 17U and above, Team USA will pick up the majority of whatever is on there. So that makes a huge difference. It's just when I have to be there because I coach her as well, so I have to find that a way to make that happen, so we can get her as comfortable as possible, or have her in the zone, be ready to go. Not having newer coaches come in at the last second and trying to feel you out and see what works for you. It goes so much better. And then you get to be there with your daughter, because that's what's most important to me.
Well, Sam, looking at the stands in the Olympics in Paris, how many people did Sarah Hildebrand have? And I mean,
right.
all those guys that went along with her, saying that was her support staff, and they had a lot of tickets to Paris.
Yes, I can not imagine. Yeah, and then you have to find some way to fit that. There's only so much they cover. It's always the athlete that gets covered, and when you have coaches, you got to be able to cover their costs.
Well, her brother got to go because he was her workout partner, so they got one family member for free.
Right.
Well, Sam, think back to February and Evansville, and I know that there's so many things going on with an elite athlete. You're talking about Olympic aspirations and college decisions and recruiting and all of those types of things. But talk to me a little bit about getting ready for this season. What are Juliana's goals? What is she actively working on at getting better herself to take the next step for this high school season?
The plan has not changed. It's never changed. It's be consistent, give your best effort, whatever that we do. Have a good attitude, and what's going to happen is what's going to happen. And she doesn't change it. And every year it comes the same way. We come in the same way. We take the problems as they come, attack them, and your effort's going to determine what's going to happen out of there.
The most important question is, does she ever wear the high school wrestling weekly shirt?
She does.
That's a nice shirt, isn't it? I give it to her. She has a sheepish look. I just wonder how often she wears it.
Yep, she's wore it to workouts, wore it to practices. She's wore it around. I even say something to her when I see it.
We've tried doing our part. We are working her into the media interview training a little bit.
She doesn't like to talk. I
think by the time we get to the state finals this year, she'll be ready to take the mic, and she'll be looking forward to it.
I tell you what, she has amazed me with a couple of big things, because I can't get her to order her own Subway, at the restaurant sometimes. But when we were at World Team Trials and we seen Cale Sanderson, actually I sat between him, Bo Bassett, and Nick Lee when I was on the bus.
Group.
Yeah, and I talked to them all the way there. But once we got into practice and she wasn't practicing with somebody, said, hey, this is your opportunity to ask Cale, what do you think he's doing with the girls program? Because we know nothing's going on with it. And I said, I'll take a picture with you, and all that. And I'm like, this is your opportunity. I didn't think there was any way. Sure enough, she went right up there, talked to him, asked him the question, and I'm just like, wow. Like, these much more difficult things, I think that she would shy away from. No. Like, Dad, order my Subway, I'll take care of Cale over here.
Okay, but let's be honest. She really is truly under a different type of spotlight than maybe any other athlete in the sport, because of the things that she's accomplished. And that is a whole different set of skills and preparations and sort of mindset than just wrestling on the mat. And really, she can't do one without the other, because so much of what she accomplished, not to take anything away from preparation-wise, but I'm saying, like, so much of what happens around her is crowd and, all of these other things, and handling the media. And even if it's not, like, directly seen by everybody, she's talking to people before matches. She's talking to people after matches, and that has to linger with you as you're trying to also stay in the game mindset-wise. And she's got to deal with that.
It is.
Most of these boys aren't dealing with that kind of media pressure, I guess, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, she doesn't want any of the media attention. That definitely is
But she can't get away from it.
No,
yeah,
she cannot.
She's not going to be able to get away from it.
As you can tell, she's gotten a little bit better every time, and I think she understands that. She tries to embrace it a little bit more, but she definitely doesn't feel comfortable with it, put it that. But one thing we always talk about in practice is, being uncomfortable is where you want to be when it comes to wrestling, because that's how you progress. If you stay uncomfortable, you will progress. If you stay comfortable, you stay where you're at.
Like Theo Vaughn says, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Right.
Now, my other big question is, did she ever go back and listen to the podcast from WZBD for a semifinal match and listen to two grown men cry? Because we were bawling our eyes out.
It was a lot of fun.
I'm telling you, I listened to that match 1,000 times. That was,
you could feel it in my voice. She's getting her butt kicked. She's getting throttled. This is not going to be good. And the more the match went on, my attitude changed a little bit, and at the end we were just going crazy.
You're talking about that state finals first match, correct?
Yeah, the match. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, that is something that will stay in my heart forever. It was amazing. It seemed like that's the way it was supposed to be. It shows never giving up, to keep going regardless of how things happen, whether you plan it that way or not. I think a lot of it had to do with, again, what you were talking about, pressure. Adding on that so many people have expectations of what she should do or how it should go, and yet she has to determine that on her own when it comes to right in the moment.
Dane told me that's the iconic girls wrestling match we've ever called, and it goes right up there with all-time matches, I think.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure. I loved it, every bit of it.
With that, let's send it back to studio for a round of commercials. Back with more High School Wrestling Weekly right after this on WZBD. I went a little bit long.
The staff at Haggard, Hershey, and Zelt Funeral Home is honored to serve the community we love and live in. Locally owned and operated by Ryan Hershey and Eric Zelt, we understand that each family we serve and each life lived tells a unique story. Our goal is to offer comfort, care, and dignity to all who entrust their loved ones to our care. We are proud to call Adams County our home and look forward to serving you for generations to come.
Based out of the Indiana Tech Wrestling Facility, the Warrior Regional Training Center is an elite training center for youth wrestlers, high school wrestlers, and college and senior level athletes. Featuring a college coaching staff with a strong history of developing talent and producing results, Warrior RTC will give any wrestler quality training partners to push them to new levels in the state-of-the-art 25,000 square foot wrestling building. The training is affordable and private training is also available. Put Warrior RTC in your corner this season.
Always good food, good company. My wife and I came here on Saturday night, and there was a Halloween party going on, and it was a great fun. That was the week before, but there was something going on the other night. This place is always packed on the weekends, and great times, great food, and they're very gracious hosts for us here on Sunday nights.
And definitely big fans of wrestling all the way around, from high school wrestling all the way up to college. I know I heard somebody say that this is the place to be when Ike wrestles now for Purdue, to toss that up on the TVs and to watch it. So we should give a shout out to Ike. A very difficult weekend, but Friday night he wrestled great. He overcame about 3 different bricks being thrown, and was down early and came back. And just talking to him this weekend, he's really excited about holding on to that spot and wrestling a full varsity season and seeing what he's capable of. And I really do think that he loves being at Purdue. So I think it's been a great fit for him. After we get off the air, we'll have the Colts game up at Minneapolis as they take on the Vikings. And then tomorrow we have the Purdue game, basketball game. They take on Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and then we'll have the Pacers after that. Then on Tuesday, Rex, I know you're going to be tuning in, my debut as an Election Day analyst. I'm looking forward to it. If you are
You going to grow your sideburns off of that?
If you are from Adams County, tune in, and we'll talk a little bit about voter turnout and early voting.
The early voting's been huge.
So we're going to be comparing that to 2020. We'll also talk about the school board races. There's a school board race that really has an impact in all 3 school districts in Adams County. So Steve and I are going to be live for that until all of the results come in locally. Then we'll have the tape delay for Purdue basketball and the radio show there. We'll have the Pacers on Wednesday as they take on the Magic on Thursday. The Purdue football coaches radio show. I don't know. Purdue just seems lost right now, and IU keeps rising and Purdue keeps falling. And
you skipped my girls wrestling on Wednesday.
Didn't you? Yeah. And don't forget about the girls wrestling match on Wednesday on YouTube between New Haven and Columbia City. Then on Friday, we've got a punt on the Pacers, and we got a tape delay on the Boilers because we've got 2 football games to bring you. We'll have Adams Central at Eastside on 92.7 FM and South Adams at Madison Grant.
Is that me on the radio with the 2 filling boys?
Well, we haven't decided yet.
Okay.
We got to hear back from our man Dave Nathan on whether he wants to go solo or what that looks like.
How about you just call Dave and tell him what he's doing like you do me? You don't ask me.
It doesn't work like that. Then on Saturday morning at 11 a.m., there'll be an interruption to the great Steve Gagel show as the pregame will start for Purdue and Ohio State. That's a noon kickoff. We will have our first girls basketball game of the year on Saturday, November 9th. That's Eastbrook at South Adams. And then on Sunday, the Colts play the Bills at 1 o'clock, and the Pacers play the Knicks at 4:30. And we'll have High School Wrestling Weekly here for you next week on the 10th. And we'll have another Purdue basketball game on Monday. And then I don't want to discount it. Tuesday, make sure you listen in or come in person. This Belmont girls basketball team this year is going to be special. Our first broadcast for them this year is a week from Tuesday on the 12th. They'll take on Concordia. Matt Conversay, Lou Koning, great radio to listen to if you don't make it, but you really want to go see that team play.
With that, we'd like to thank all of our guests that came out tonight to witness. I'd like to thank the Double Eagle and Beth, who always takes care of us on Sunday nights, and she always asks me, show this week? Yeah, show this week. So, like the next 10 weeks in a row, we're here, Beth. 18 weeks in a row, something like that?
At least.
I'd like to thank Steve Rouse for running the board for us, as he does on every Sunday night. Stay tuned for the Colts, as the Colts take on the Vikings. And once again, thanks to all of our sponsors that let us talk about wrestling on the radio here on WZBD.